Well, hi guys, it's that time. It's our Bible teaching snippet of the day. Well, today I want to do just like a one-off teaching. Maybe I might pick up on it tomorrow, who knows. I just get on and teach whatever people are asking and talking to me about. But I want to do a Q&A, okay? Someone asked me the question, when did mankind begin to kill and cook or eat animals? Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of different answers, and if you're wanting to just use your American 66 book Bible, I call it the limited edition, and I say that because many Bibles in other areas of the world have more books in their Bibles than we do. Let me just give you a little breakdown on that. I've got it right here in the front of my King James, my big 6-pound Bible, pretty much, right? The 1611 KJV had 81 books in it. Now we have 66, so it's been reduced, okay? The 1560 Geneva has 80 books in it. The Catholic Bible had 80 books in it, but now it's most of the time there's about 73 books in it, okay? And the Ethiopian Bible, it has never been changed, and it has 88 different books in it, okay? So that's why I call it our limited edition 66 book Bible, is because we don't have as many writings in our Bibles as some of the other Bibles around the world. So let me get to the question and give you the answer to that. If we're looking in this particular, in our American Bibles, the first place that I know of, and I am open to being corrected, but what my research has found is that it's in chapter 18, verse 7 and 8, and this is Abraham, okay? I'm going to show you a timeline with Abraham a little bit later. I have this printed off, and I'll talk to you a little about that in a minute. But I'm going to read first to you Genesis 18, verses 7 and 8. And Abraham ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf, tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Okay, that's the first time you'll see where it talks about someone killing and dressing and cooking an animal to eat it in our Bibles. But I want to go just a little bit deeper and show you some things. If we go over to Genesis chapter 6, it records where the earth becomes evil. And my King James up here, the heading on it says, evil rules over mankind, okay? And it talks about how the sons of God, which in ancient days meant angels, saw the daughters of men, and they were fair, and they forcefully took, by the way, the wives of all they desired and chose. And it says here that giants in the earth in those days, that there were giants in these days, and after that, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, these same became mighty men. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. The same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. The actual Hebrew in that actually means that these became mighty warriors and tyrants, and they were the ones who was causing all of the violence in the earth, okay? Now, our version of Genesis doesn't talk about animals, killing animals and eating animals and sacrificing human beings and eating them. But some of the other writings that used to be in the Bible, they do give us a little bit more information on when did man start eating animals. So let me go over and show you in Jubilees, the book of Jubilees, chapter 6. No, I'm sorry. Let me go back a little bit. Let me go to Enoch first. I want to go to Enoch chapter 7. And it says, when they turn themselves against men, this is the giants or the tyrants that I just talked about, in order to devour them. Okay, so these bigger hybrid humans were devouring men, and began to injure birds, beasts, reptiles, and fish, to eat their flesh one after another, and to drink their blood. So, and then it says in verse 15, it says, and the earth reproved the unrighteousness. Now, let's go on over to Enoch chapter 8, verse 1, and it says, moreover, Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, breastplates, and fabrication of mirrors, and the workmanship of bracelets, ornaments, the use of paint, the beautifying of eyebrows, and the use of stones of every valuable and select kind, and all sort of dyes, so that the world would become altered. And in verse 2 it says, impiety increased, fornication multiplied, and they transgressed and corrupted all of their ways. Okay, so this is talking specifically about the fallen angels teaching mankind evil things to do in the earth. Now, here we go. Let's go over to Jubilees chapter 6, and I want to show you here. This is verse 10, and it says, and Enoch and his sons swore. Now, this is after the flood, okay? This is Genesis 6, the flood and all of that happens. Noah gets off the ark, and we're going to pick up on this, okay? And Noah and his sons swore that they would not eat, that's called eating, eat any blood that was in any flesh. And he cut a covenant before Yahweh forever throughout the generations of the earth in this month. And if I skip down to verse 18, here we find out, so men started killing and eating animals in some period of time during Genesis chapter 6, and then the flood happens, and they stopped eating animals. Noah and his son took an oath that they would not eat the flesh of any animals or any humans, no more violence of killing one another, no more blood spilling. But here's the key too, it talks specifically about not eating anything that has blood in it, okay? And so let's skip down to verse 18, and it says, and this whole feast was celebrated in heaven from the day of creation till the days of Noah, 26 jubilees and 5 weeks of the year. And Noah and his son observed it for 7 jubilees and 1 week of years, till the day that Noah died, the day of Noah's death. And from that day of Noah's death, his sons did away with it until the days of Abraham, and they ate blood. So we see that from the flood days, where the earth was cleansed, that there was no eating of animals until Noah passed away, because they took an oath with God that they would cultivate the earth and live off of the land. We find this in the Genesis Apocryphon. I don't have that pulled up, but I can supply that to anyone who wants that. But it clearly says that when Noah got off the boat, he walked through the earth and saw that the vegetation had been restored and the food was plentiful throughout the earth. Let's remember, Noah was on the boat for a year, okay? So the earth had plenty of time to dry off and become fertile again and have food on it, okay? And so when God told Noah and his sons that they would cultivate the earth and live from the earth, and to take an oath that they would not kill and eat anything that had blood in it, okay? Now, I want to read you Jubilees chapter 11, verse 2. And this kind of ties into chapter 6, what I just read. And the sons of Noah began to war on each other, to take captive and to slay each other, to shed the blood of men on the earth, and to eat blood, and to build strong cities and walls and towers, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation, and to found the beginnings of, and to found, to lay out the foundations, the beginnings of kingdoms, and to go to war, people against people, nation against nation, city against city, and began to do evil, to acquire arms, and to teach their sons to war. And they began to capture cities and to sell male and female slaves. So what we see in the Apocrypha is what they're called, the Apocryphal writings, is that men were taught to kill and eat each other and animals by the fallen ones. And the flood, this was before the flood, and the earth got so evil with so much bloodshed. And then there was no killing of any animals until after Noah's death. Now, I want to talk to you about that. Noah lived to be 950 years. He lived an extra 350 years after the flood. We find this in Genesis chapter 9, verse 28 and 29. So Noah lived 950 years 350 years after the flood. So from the time of the flood until Noah's death is 350 years. And at some point right after that, that's when men, his sons and grandsons, decided to start killing each other and killing and eating animals again. Now, let me use my timeline real quick because I want to show you this. It shows Adam at year 01 and all the way through to the birth of Noah is 1,556 years. And the death of Noah is another 350 years. So that would put us at about 2,500 years when Noah, his sons, started killing and eating animals, okay? Well, I hope that I have answered your questions. I think that I have. I don't have anything else pulled up. But the answer to your question is that in the beginning, the killing of each other, human beings, and warring on the earth, all of that started in Genesis chapter 6, okay? And we find in the apocryphal writings that animals were being killed and eaten as well, as human beings were being killed and eaten, okay? And then all of that ended at the flood, and for 350 years after the flood, there was no killing of any animals, no animals being eaten. And our 66-book Bible actually kind of supports that because it doesn't talk about anybody killing and eating animals. Noah didn't kill any on the ark and eat any of them. It doesn't record him or his sons or grandsons hunting and killing any animals. The killing and eating of animals only began after the death of Noah, and that would have been 350 years after the flood. Okay? Well, God bless you, and I will see you here tomorrow. Bye-bye.